Composers challenge the dominant narratives to help the audience develop their own understanding of the complexities and tensions of human experiences, and how they are represented and influenced by the lenses we look through over time. The Merchant of Venice, a play written by William Shakespeare during the Elizabethan era, causes the audience to reflect on oppression still prevalent in society today. The poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was written by Maya Angelou during a time when racism and discrimination ran rapid across specifically America. These two texts focus on human experiences within their own context, allowing audiences to gain insight into the development of dominant narratives throughout time. They focus on the different opinions and perceptions to explain their own understanding or experiences of marginalized groups in society. Venice values the collective human experiences of oppression as well as the individual human experiences of overcoming oppression. This play evaluates the difference between religions. Since the Elizabethan era was mainly Christian, many despised people who practiced the Jewish faith.
If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge? If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferings be? By Christian example. Why revenge?
Reveals the contrast between the two religions, highlighting the societal discrimination and oppression. Shylock delivers a series of rhetorical questions throughout his monologue that allow him to behave as villainously as the white Christians have. His speech is remarkable in that it creates a wide range of emotional responses that the audience feels towards Shylock as a result of Shakespeare's dichotomy of the victim and the villain. At first, the audience sympathizes with Shylock as his right to fair treatment has been neglected, but Shylock's desire and pledge to behave just as deplorably as the Christians cast him in a less sympathetic light, making the audience feel betrayed. The motivation that Shylock discovers we can understand, but the perpetuation of villainy leads the audience to question where our empathy should lie. Shakespeare challenges these views by compelling his audience to question the underlying values and assumptions within society and changing the lens we look.
Had Jew eyes? Had Jew hands? Organs? Dimensions? Senses? Affections? Passions? Fed with the same food? Hurt with the same weapons? Subject to the same diseases? Healed by the same means? Warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian.
Statement and rhetorical question illustrate the myriad ways Christian and Jews have common aspects, drawing on the audience's humanity and employing both logos and pathos to question the oppression faced by marginalized groups within society. The poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings reflects the racial segregation and social discrimination in American society as a result of antagonism towards people of color. The composer uses an extended metaphor to describe a caged bird that is
bird thinks of another breeze. A caged bird stands on the grave of dreams.
This idea aims at the African American oppression by which the American society played a role, not just in the past. The extended metaphor introduces the overwhelming agony and the cruelty that the African American groups experienced. Maya Angelou is an African American herself. She writes this engaging poem to challenge the morality of the experience of marginalized communities.
Can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat.
This uses a synecdoche to create a sense of entrapment, representing how the African American community had been stripped of their sovereignty. Angelou convinces her readers to believe that the bird's captivity strips some of his true identity. The caged bird can see the opportunities, but because of the metaphorical his bars of rage, he can't break free. The cage itself symbolizes the different injustices faced by the African American people and the emotional restraints they have experienced. The end of the stanza, so he opens his throat to sing, conveys a sense of hopefulness, which is correlative of the continued protest throughout American history. Shakespeare has created an insightful text that has challenged transitional women's roles in the patriarchal structure of society during the Elizabethan era. This play evaluates the undermining of societal gender inequalities towards women, especially through the characterization of Portia. Compared to society today, before women were assumed to be the inferiors of men, which made the character Portia very rare as her values are opposite to social norms. Portia's caskets are symbolic of the lack of choice that women experienced in the Elizabethan era, as her father exerts his control over Portia from the grave by controlling her maritable choice.
Instead, the lottery of my destiny bars me the right of voluntary choosing.
Portia exposes the gender roles, giving the impression that she does not shy away from breaking rules. Shakespeare challenges the patriarchal values within Elizabethan society through Portia as she persistently exercises her freedom. This is reflected through Portia's manipulation of Bassanio. Shakespeare's use of rhyme to manipulate Bassanio's choice highlights Portia's independent and willful nature, forcing the audience to question the dominant gender roles and illustrate the entrapment of women as a result of their human experience. The poem Caged Bird represents the injustice of the captive bird. This allows the audience to argue whether freedom is a natural state for human beings, as the African Americans weren't given the chance to obtain freedom, but to further demonstrate segregation and cruelty. The contrast between the two birds, in conjunction with the powerful use of "Dares to Claim the Sky," highlights Angelou's perspective of the abhorrent sanctimony within society, representing the discrimination the African Americans received from the entitled oppressors. The caged bird longing to break free is reflective of the resilience the African Americans brought forward against the oppression. The structure of the first stanza mirrors the freedom and the lack of restrictions faced by the free bird. This is juxtaposed with the introduction of the rhyme.
The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still.
Conveying that Angelou herself doesn't have the free will to write, Maya Angelou presents her perspective of prejudice and bigotry that was justified by the white Americans and represented the different lens with which society is perceived. Throughout Caged Bird, she explores the desire for freedom that cannot be bound due to the lost opportunities the caged bird experiences. The narrow cage holding the bird captive is a symbol of the cultural entrapment of the African American community. Different texts expose the complexities and tensions in human experiences. These experiences can include oppression and the sensation of being trapped. The Merchant of Venice demonstrates how the Jewish people were victimized and treated due to their religion. This play demands us to question how we view marginalized groups in society, including the women during the Elizabethan era, as they were considered to be subservient to men. Furthermore, the poem "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings" also reveals the prevalence of oppression and discrimination towards the African American community. This poem also illustrates how the caged bird represents the entrapment of African Americans, as they weren't allowed to undertake normal activities such as the white Americans.